In this video for section 5.5, we're going to talk about how to graph a system of linear inequalities. So when we have a system of linear inequalities, we have two or more linear inequalities. And what we're looking for in the solution is where the shaded areas overlap. So we're going to look at example 6. It says to graph the solution set of the system. So basically what we need to do here is just graph each of the linear inequalities, make sure that we're using dotted and solid lines appropriately, and figure out the shaded areas for each, and then where the shaded areas overlap, that's going to be my answer. So we're going to start with the top one here. This is x minus y is less than 1. So I know that that's going to be a dotted line. And then I'm going to use the cover-up method to find the points. So if we have x minus y equals 1, we're going to have x equals 1. And we're going to have negative y equals 1. And dividing by negative 1 gives me y equals negative 1. So those are going to be my 2 points. X equals 1, I mark on the x-axis. Y equals negative 1, mark on the y-axis. And then I'm going to draw a dotted line through those 2 points. Now I need to determine the shading. So to determine the shading, I plug in my test point 0, 0. So plug in 0 for x, plug in 0 for y. I'm plugging this into my inequality. 0 minus 0 is less than 1. That's true, because 0 is less than 1. So that means I'm going to shade on the left side of the line over the point 0, 0. I'm going to shade it like this right now because I'm going to be erasing some of my shading in a little bit once I draw the other line. So that's the first line. The second line is 2x plus 3y greater than or equal to 12. So this is going to be a solid line because it's greater than or equal to. My points are going to be 2x equals 12 and 3y equals 12. So I'm going to mark 6 on the x-axis, and I'm going to mark 4 on the y-axis. Draw a solid line through those 2 points. And now I need to determine the shading. So we're going to have 2 times 0 plus 3 times 0 greater than or equal to 12. 0, 0. So is 0 greater than or equal to 12? No, that's false. So for that line, we shade the other side. So looking at my solid line here, I'm going to shade the side of the line that does not go over the point 0, 0. And so that's going to be above the line or to the right. And so what I'm looking for here is where this shaded area is overlapping my other shaded area, which is going to be in this like V-shaped part section up here. So my answer is going to be this section bounded by the solid line on the left and the dotted line on the right. So I'm going to erase these other marks here, and my answer is going to look like this. So next you should look at checkpoint problem number 6. Do this in your notes, check your answer, and then move on with the video. Next, we're going to look at example 8. So we have, again, a solution set that we're going to graph. This time we have 3 equations, but we're just going to take it one step at a time. So our first one is x minus y less than 2. That's a dotted line. We're going to have x equals 2 negative y equals 2, which means y equals negative 2. So plot those points, draw the line. And then do my test point. So 0 minus 0, less than 2. That is true because 0 is less than 2. So that means I'm going to shade on the left side of the line. Okay, now my next one here, this is negative 2 less than or equal to x less than 4. That's actually going to be 2 lines. So let me copy this down here. We're going to have a solid line on negative 2. And a dotted line on 4. Actually, I should be a little more explicit here. Solid line through x equals negative 2, dotted line through x equals 4. And then the shading is going to be in between. So this is telling me x is less than 4 but greater than negative 2. So numbers on the x-axis that are smaller than 4 but bigger than negative 2 are in between those two lines. And so the overlapping area with what I've already shaded is going to be this area that is above that dotted line. So I'm going to erase my other shading marks here. And then the last thing that I have is y is less than 3. So this is going to be a dotted line through y equals 3. And then I'm going to be shading below that line because it's less than. So my line through 3 is right here on the y-axis, 3 on the y-axis. And then I draw in my dotted line. And then since it's y is less than 3, that's going to be the shaded area below 3. So my final shaded area is this. It actually is almost a triangle. It has a very small fourth side on this side. So this shape here in the middle is going to be my final shaded area. So let me erase these marks up here. And that's what my answer is going to look like. So next you should look at checkpoint problem number 8. Do this in your notes, check your answer, and then move on to the homework.